How's it going, everyone? My name is Michael SK, and welcome back to Higurashi When They Cry, Chapter 7. Wow, it feels so weird to say 7. We've really come a long way. So this chapter is already starting out to be the very different one compared to the ones that we've gone through so far. We are following Rika this time around, and her quote-unquote imaginary friend, or at least that's what I've called her. Up until now, I've actually already forgotten her name. But it's the individual that seems to follow her around, and it seems like this has always been a thing. And she joins her on the time-traveling ventures to try and figure out how to get past this tragedy, which seems to always happen, and she's looking for that way out. So I guess it's also worth reviewing the whole rules that were discussed in the previous episode, so I guess this chapter is going to be all about trying to figure out our way around those rules in 2 weeks' time. So we have Rule X, which is where one of our best friends here in the main group is going to lose their mind and go on a murderous rampage, perhaps. And that leads to tragedy. Rule Y, shoot, I can't remember what Rule Y is. Rule Y is that Rika will always die, usually from whoever the antagonist is, or maybe even Shion. And then Rule Z is where we have Ueshi and Takano that are always coming around with their Sonozaki family bullshit that seems to make whoever is losing their mind even more so to do so. Like they'll actually put a blame on somebody and roll with whatever theory they come up with. So we've got to get past those rules and then we'll be home free. So Rika apparently fell. We don't know the context because we literally just popped in here along with Rika.
どこ打ったの？おじさんに見せてみて。
ありがとうなのです。頭にタンコブができただけなのですよ。
I think all I got was a bump at least. My injury was as serious as wasn't as serious as everyone thought.
頭を打った時はその場では大丈夫でも油断がなりませんでしたよ。
それもそうだな。念には念で監督に診察してもらった方がいいかもしれないな。
レナもそれがいいと思うな。どうしよう、監督を呼んでくる？
そうだね。近くの家で電話を借りて監督を呼んでみるよ。
そこまでしなくても大丈夫なのですよ。この通りピンピンしてますのです。リパー。ダメですわよリカ。万が一ということがありましたよ。
Satoko warned me with a stern voice. It really wasn't a big deal, but I decided to nod since Satoko was trying to be generous. She wasn't trying to boss me around or anything. She was only saying that because of how much she cares. I've seen it before in many different lives that I've been through. I have no doubt that she's really concerned about me. It's not just Satoko. Mion, Rena, and Keiichi are the same. They're all so nice, and they truly do care. Mion left to look for a phone. Rena also left with a towel, looking for the water tap. Satoko remained nearby, taking care of me with a worried face. And Hanyu was just standing there, still wearing a panicked look. That's her name. Keiichi seemed to be panicked too, but he was trying not to show it. He was standing by me, wearing a calm expression.
大丈夫か？
大丈夫なのですよ。もう全然痛くないのです。
なら不幸中の幸いだったよな。よかったよかった。
I wouldn't feel anything special about his words if this was a while ago. But at that moment when Rena took over the classroom, when she hurt Mion, Keiichi tried his best to save Rena, even so. He was more reliable than I ever imagined from his normal behavior. He's usually an insensitive guy who hurts other people's feelings without noticing, but that's not his true self. He has a secret side. He's willing to sacrifice himself for other people. I was just observing that not too long ago. And that's why I can honestly feel his generosity now. Now that I think about it, Keiichi regained a memory from another world from the previous time around. Is it possible that he carries that memory in this world too? If that's the case, I have some hope. Hanyu and I are totally powerless. Hanyu is only like heir to everyone but me, and I'm just a little girl. There's only so much that we can do ourselves, but Keiichi is different. He changed the fate that I had once resigned myself to. He's somebody who may have the power to take me to my unseen future. If I can get Keiichi to understand me, he could be my hero. Perhaps I'm actually not expecting that much out of him. I just want someone to understand my struggle of being stuck in this maze.
Keiichi?
I spoke to him slowly. It had been a while since I felt so nervous. I hadn't felt this way since I started my endless life in 1983. As a witch, I normally would know what his response would be before even talking to him. I often remain silent because I already know how pitiful the reply would be. But in that case, why was I so nervous now?
呼んだかリカちゃん。
Hanyu gave me a disappointed look before I responded to Keiichi.
Rika.
I could tell what Hanyu was thinking too. The miracle wasn't going to happen. If miracles do happen, one could have happened many times in my other lives. But I've only seen one miracle before. The miracle that Keiichi gave me was a once-in-a-lifetime kind of miracle. Only if it happened again would it be a true miracle. I won't get out of this world just because I rolled 6 on the die once. I can't get out unless I get a miracle that's equivalent to getting 6 on the die 10 times in a row. And so I rolled 10 dice, wishing that they'd all turned out to be 6.
Keiichi.
どうしたんだよ。
Hold on, I want to try something. So somebody said in the comments of my previous episode that the console sprites are the only ones that make Hanyu look a little older than she actually is in the other versions. So, oh yeah, she does look a little younger here, and I can't tell here. Okay, we're back to normalcy, I think.
どこか痛むのか？
He looked at me worriedly after I called his name twice.
ケイイチは覚えていますですか？
I knew how sudden my question was. As I thought he would, he looked at me with a confused face.
え？覚えてるって何の話だよ？
I looked inside his eyes to see his true feelings. He should remember, he should know. Even though he doesn't have the memory, Keiichi experienced it.
なんですのケイイチさん。何かリカに悪いことでもしたんじゃありませんの？自分の胸によく聞いてごらんなさいですわよ。ケイイチ、学校の屋根の上に登ったことを覚えていますですか？学校の屋根？ケイイチさん、そんなとこに登ったんですの？サトコは黙っててなのです。ケイイチ、覚えていませんですか？
俺が屋根の上にいつ？いやリカちゃん、それは多分他の誰かの勘違いだろ。俺屋根なんか登ったことないし、登り方だって知らないよ。
Of course you haven't experienced it in this world yet. But please tell me that you remember. I know you've been up on the roof, but you should still remember doing it. You shouldn't be able to remember it true, but you actually did once. You should be able to remember it once again.
屋根の上にボールでも取りに行ったんじゃありませんの？
いやそんな経験一度もねえよ。サトコは経験あるか？
まさか屋根の上なんて上がったら先生に怒られましたよ。
でもさ、屋根の上で昼寝とかしたら気分が良さそうだよな。
覚えてるわけないのですよ。そんな簡単に奇跡が起こるなら僕もリカもこんな苦労はしないのですよ。
Shut up. I knew that. I knew that he wouldn't remember.
どうせまた僕たちはお祭りの終わりとともに消えてゆく夏のセミの運命なのです。うるさいな。
As I stared at her fiercely, Hanyu realized that she had crossed a line. This might be a waste of time. The maze we're in might not have an exit. It might be an endless loop without a goal in place. We are trapped in this fate. I thought that Keiichi might be able to get me out of here. But that Keiichi I saw was truly a miracle, a momentary glimmer. The Keiichi of this world doesn't bear that same miracle. All the same, I'm not going to give up. Last time too, I gave up on fighting destiny. I realized Rena was beyond salvation, so I bid her farewell and forsook the world. But Keiichi fought and broke the cycle of fate. I should have worked harder with that Keiichi in that world. I could have broken this endless cycle together with him. Am I going to repeat this life waiting for that miracle to happen again? I can't do that. I don't want to repeat the same life anymore. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of this world, my fate, everything. I'm tired of getting murdered by destiny. Keiichi showed me a miracle. I should be able to do the same too. I must fight. I must fight with all my remaining power. I was always fighting. I was fighting when I had more power. But I never made it. How can I expect to win this time? Still, I must fight. Keiichi taught me that fate can be shattered. I'm going to fight one more time. Hell yeah. Gamers rise up, am I right? Very interesting though. This is definitely going to be a very interesting perspective. Everything will truly come together here, right? To my granddaughter is the first tip of the game. Achievement we got is breaking the cycle with a die. And I mean, yeah, a die is pretty, easy to represent what we've been through and how that is a 1 out of 6 chance miracle. It's just, are we going to be able to roll that again? Is that really the probability? Probably not. I'm sorry for leaving you like this. I just need you to understand that I'd rather take my own life than be fearful of how many days I have left to live. And that's why I'm writing this letter to you. I can't stand the fear of being unable to leave behind a will while my life is prolonged, even as I lose my consciousness. In the end, there's nothing I can leave behind for you. I was unable to leave any of my achievements to this world. I was forgotten before I was dead. I leave this world a humiliated man, knowing that I had no appreciation from anyone. You must do better than me. You must achieve something that your grandfather was never able to achieve. I don't mind what field you choose. You must leave your mark on this world. You must leave behind your achievements. You will eventually die someday. You will eventually turn to ashes. As a human being, that's your inevitable fate. But if you achieve a great success, you will live forever even after you depart. Those who live beyond their deaths are called gods. I wish to become one, but I was unable to do so. So in my place, you must become a god someday. Yeah, I hope so. I hope that death is, a possibility for Rika. If that was addressed to Rika, that is. I would assume so.
Hi. もう結構ですよ.
Irie withdrew the needle from Satoko's arm. It must not have hurt much for the needle to be pulled out. Satoko kept her eyes closed in fear, thinking that the needle was still inside her arm.
さとこ、お注射はもう終わったのですよ。
Look who's here. And on the job, even.
あら、もう終わってたんですの。
As Satoko opened her eyes, she found that Irie was no longer sitting in front of her, and that Takano was wiping her arm with rubbing alcohol instead.
そうよ。もう終わってたのよ。入江先生は私よりお注射が上手だから。
What kind of nurse are you? You're a failure.
終わったことにも気づかなかったでしょ。傷口を揉んじゃダメよ。できれば重いものも持たないこと。
分かっていましたよ。さとこは偉いのですよ。なでなでしてあげますのです。注射くらいもう全然平気ですのよ。理科に撫でられるような覚えはございませんですわ。
Not long ago, she would go into a panic when it was time for her to get her shot. The way that she behaved today in itself is worthy of praise, excuse me. Everyone in the room smiled, aware of that growth.
じゃあ、さとこちゃんはいつもの検査を受けてください。高野さん、お願いします。
ええ。さあ、さとこちゃん、 いつものクイズをしましょうね。
高野さんのクイズは答えにくい問題が多くて私苦手ですわね。
いつもと同じよ。答えづらい問題はわからないと言ってくれればいいわ。変に考え込まず、自然に思いついた答えを口にしてくれればいいのよ。
Takano smiled at Satoko to ease her tension. And then she led Satoko to a desk in the back of the examination room.
さとこの具合、良いといいのです。
I don't know if it's because of the heat, but Satoko has been showing negative symptoms since last month. The change of the seasons can affect her physically and emotionally. It's not a surprise that this is happening to her.
私は入江たちのところへでも行って、さとこの容体を聞いてみるわ。羽生はどうする？僕はさとこのそばにいてあげますのです。ありがとう。そうしてあげて。
Oh. So I guess this is a pretty good way for her to learn about things that are going around while she's doing her own thing, her being Rika, that is. Rika can get information in one place, and then Hanyu can get information in another. That should help, with information gathering. Hanyu went over to where Satoko was. Fortunately, I'm the only one who can see Hanyu. She won't be a distraction if she goes and observes Satoko's test. I, of course, would be a distraction like that. This is supposed to be a routine exam, but it seems like Takano is teasing her by giving her difficult questions. It would be pretty funny to observe how Satoko reacts to them. I'm a little jealous that Hanyu gets to watch everything without being a bother to Satoko. Irie was talking with two other staff members about Satoko's exam results. I walked up and joined them.
よかった。では、解放に向かっていますか。
From what Irie was saying, her results must have turned out well.
入江、どうなのですか？
安心してください。いい結果が出ました。では、あとよろしくお願いします。
After ordering his staff to continue their work, Irie showed me some difficult paperwork and started explaining it to me.
先週の検査結果に少々焦りすぎたようです。急に気候が変わったので、交感神経が過敏に反応したのでしょう。風邪をひきかけたりということはありませんでしたか？
There was one night recently that was fairly hot. Satoko was sleeping without her blanket and her stomach was exposed. She might have caught a cold that night.
お腹を出して寝てたことがありましたです。おへそをつっついたけど起きなかったのです。
それは羨ましい。ぜひ今度そういうことがあったら呼んでください。私もさとこちゃんのおへそをプニプニしてみたいものです。
Alright, buddy, let's get back on topic here.
プニプニなのですよ。お腹もぽよぽよなのです。かわいいからお布団をかけるのがもったいないのですよ。
それが寝冷えの真相ですか。
リーカー、聞こえていましたよ。そういう時はこっそりお布団をかけてくださいませ。
ダメよ、さとこちゃん。検査中よ。時間も計ってるんだから、こっちに集中して。
Irie, Hanyu, and I all laughed. Satoko went back to her test with a bitter look on her face. Irie began speaking to me in a softer voice.
ただ、小康状態には戻りましたが、レベルはレベル3マイナス。昨日も今日も明日も、危険な状態を脱していないことに変わりはありません。
So am I missing something, or is something wrong with Satoko? Has that been explained to us before, that she actually does have something happening to her?
レベル3は永遠に治らないのですか？
アナフィラキシーショックと同じで、仮に異物が完全に取り除かれても、人体側に過剰な反応を示す体質が作られてしまいます。つまり、
さとこは完治しても一生レベル3から治らない。
そういうことになります。ですが、悲観することはありません。規則正しい生活習慣とセルフコントロール、そしてある種の投薬を続けることによって症状の発生を抑えることができます。
一生治らない。
I looked at Satoko as she enjoyed taking her test. She seemed to be having fun, even while being teased by Takano. I can't believe that she's suffering from an incurable disease.
言葉を悪く言えばそうなります。ですが、世の中には難病ではあってもうまく病気と付き合っていけるケースも少なくありません。例えば、糖尿病がそうでしょう。病気そのものは生涯治りませんが、その発症は抑えることができます。
I know that very well. There are many worse diseases in the world. Satoko might be in a relatively good situation compared to many other sick people.
もちろん、これで妥協するつもりはありません。さとこちゃんはきっと完治させます。絶対にです。
信じてますですよ。
信じてください。
Irie spoke to me with a serious look on his face. As Satoko's best friend, I felt relieved to hear his words. I'm sure he'll do his best to save Satoko's life. I have no doubt that he'll do so. I've seen him act like this in every life I've lived. I also know why he's so passionate to save her, but I'm not supposed to know about it in this life. And that's why I always pretend not to see his sad smile.
そうだ、リカさん。月末にまた少し大掛かりな検査があります。
今度は僕がモルモットになる番なのですか？
そんなつもりは。医学に貢献していただいていますし、大勢の人を救うことにもなります。
Irie's guinea pig is not just Satoko. I'm also one of them. Although guinea pig is probably not the right term, excuse me. Without Irie's efforts, Satoko would not be here today. For that reason, I should be showing respect to this man. I smiled at him, since my choice of words had hurt his feelings.
僕を調べてサトコの治療に役立つのなら、僕がモルモ。
ご協力を感謝します。
Sorry for cutting you off there, Rika. Please don't kill me.
もう少し人と設備とお金があれば、これだけの負担をかけないのですが。
The next moment, the phone rang. Irie answered it in his usual business-like tone.
はい、もしもし、入江です。
東京から外線です。そちらへ回します。
I could hear the voice from the phone.
ああ、リサさんですね。もう今年もそんな時期になりましたか。電話は所長室で取りますから、そっちへ回してください。
Okay, we're not hearing this. Absolutely, please hang up on this line in that case.
わかりました。リカさん、すみません。東京からの電話です。
いってらっしゃいなのですよ。
As soon as Irie hung up the phone in the other room started ringing. He left the examination room and headed toward the office. Hanyu returned to my side as soon as Irie left. Hanyu doesn't like to be around me when I'm talking with Irie. I don't think she dislikes him, it's just that she doesn't really want to hear what he has to say. Irie doesn't mean any harm, but Hanyu is often hurt by the things that come out of his mouth.
どう？サトコの様子は？サトコは相変わらず間違い探しは下手くそなのです。僕の方がいっぱい見つけられましたのですよ。あんたの検査結果なんてどうでもいいでしょ。サトコの結果はどうなの？
I thought she was there to check on Satoko, but she was taking the quiz alongside her instead. That's so typical of Hanyu. She was treating it almost like a game, but Satoko was tired after taking the same quiz every week. She seemed sleepy, especially after waking up so early this morning. The quiz in this case wasn't about a right or wrong answer. It was about timing in minutes, how long it took her to answer the question, and observing how she acted during the quiz. Not all the questions would be simple ones, so Satoko often got headaches, more so than even the spelling tests that we take at school.
もうほとんど終わりなの？はいです。今、高野が持っているのが最後の一冊なのですよ。
Takano was showing a book to Satoko with abstract pictures inside. I couldn't even tell if that was supposed to be a picture. It was just a symmetrical ink stain.
さあ、これで最後よ。これは何に見えるかしら？
Both Hanyu and I looked at the picture over Satoko's shoulders. Even I didn't know what to answer when looking at that strange ink stain.
えっと
Satoko continued to think. Takano observed her, taking notes while Satoko struggled. She was also timing how long it took her to answer, holding a stopwatch under the table. I spoke to Hanyu so only she could hear me.
羽生は何に見える？このシミ。
ソフトクリームなのです。すべて落としてしまって地面にべっしゃりとなのです。もったいない。
なるほど。実に相手の考えがわかるテストね。
Isn't this that, shoot, it was brought up in Chaos Child. I can't remember what it is. It's that test where there's, like, different, like, pictures from ink, black and white images, and you're supposed to just say what you think it shows. Everybody may have a different sort of answer. It may not even look like anything to anybody. To be honest, it's just whatever your mind comes up with at first. To me, it looked like a horse mackerel that had been cut open and its guts pulled out. That's very specific. I was thinking of food too. It was rather shocking to learn that my thought processes are the same as Hanyu's.
何に見えるかしら？思いつきでいいのよ。
Satoko must not be very good at this test. She always takes a long time to answer questions like this. She finally opened her mouth to speak.
2匹の蝶々が重なっている感じですわね。
2匹の蝶々が重なって。いいわよ。どうして蝶々は重なっているのかしら？
Takano continued to take notes as Satoko spoke. Curious about what she was writing, I looked, but is that German? I can't read it. I can't read it at all. Takano is so mean.
ずっと離れ離れで会えなかった蝶々がやっと一緒になれて喜んでるところごめんなさいですわね。私も何を言ってるのか自分でよくわかりませんわね。
いえ、そういう答え方でいいのよ。思いついたことが抽象的ならそのまま口にしてくれればいいの。そういう検査なんだから。
本当にこんなへんてこな絵の感想を言うだけで検査になりますの？
なるわよ。例えば今のこの絵だけど、去年のさとこちゃんは別な答えを出してるの。それを比べるだけでもこの1年のあなたの変化を測ることができるわよ。
なんだか嫌なテストですわね。去年の私はこの絵に何て答えたのでございますの？
Takano smiled and took a note without answering her question. I tried to remember what her answer was, but I have more than 100 years worth of memories in my head. Hanyu might remember better than I do. As I looked at Hanyu, I realized that she was standing there with a sad expression. I decided not to ask her. I could tell what kind of answer Satoko gave back then just by looking at Hanyu's face. Last year, yeah, it was her brother. June 1982, that was when Satoko was being abused by her cruel aunt. Recalling that, I didn't even want to know what Satoko answered. But just a year later, the Satoko who was worn down could no longer be seen. She became so strong. I know how difficult it was for her to stay tough and strong like this. Her growth over the past year is overwhelming to me.
ケンさん、終わりましたか？
Irie returned from his office.
終わりましたわ。
だいぶさとこちゃんも手際が良くなりましたわ。今日はだいぶ早く終わりましたのよ。
早く終わらせるように頑張ったんですもの。今日は用事がある日だからのんびりとはできませんのよ。
おや？今日は何かあるんですか？日曜日ではありませんでしたっけ？
今日はみんなでミーのおじさんのおもちゃ屋さんで部活があるのですよ。
Oh, it's that. Maybe?
なるほど。さとこちゃんが妙に今日はおとなしく検査に従ってくださると思いました。予定が詰まっていたんですね。 それは悪いことをしました。では、さとこちゃん。これはいつものです。
Come on, let me put the cap back on my drink and put it away. It's on-brand Gatorade this time, by the way. Irie put a big paper bag on the table. He opened it up and gave her instructions about the medications. Satoko had heard the same instructions over and over before, but Irie still continued to talk just the same.
状態がいいようですので、お注射はこれまでの日に2回に戻します。昼食前と就寝前の2回に必ず注射をしてください。注射針は必ず変えるように。同じ針を2度使ってはいけませんよ。それからこちらは、どうしても体調が悪くなった時のみ食後に。
はいはいはい、いつもと同じですわよ。分かっていましたよ。
Satoko couldn't wait to meet our friends for the club activity. It made me feel happy to see her as excited as this.
注射2本に戻りましたのですよ。よかったのです。
The number of shots she has to take each day represents how well she's doing. So it's a good thing that she has to take fewer shots.
大変よね。1日に2本も注射を打つのは。
Hanyu grew quiet after hearing my comment. Irie handed her the paper bag after he finished his instructions.
リカ、終わりましたよ。
ええ、お疲れ様。検査中からずっとそわそわしてたからね。いってらっしゃいな。
すみませんわね、上の空で。いつも検査をしてくださって感謝していますのよ。
ほら、もう時間がないんじゃないの？私の車で送ろうかしら。そうそう。また車に新しいぬいぐるみがあるのよ。今度は約束通り、さとこちゃんが名前をつけてくれていいわよ。
あら、何のぬいぐるみでございますかしら。どんな名前にしようか迷いますわね。何の動物のぬいぐるみなんですの？
また猫なのよ。今度は虎島なの。可愛いからきっと気に入ってくれるわよ。
Satoko and Takano are good friends. They're both fond of stuffed animals. Every time Takano gets a new one, she brags about it to Satoko. That's all they have in common, but having a friend like Takano is a special thing for Satoko. She's part of the Hojo family, who tried to betray the village. People at the clinic are the only adults who will even talk to Satoko.
じゃあお二人とも部活行ってらっしゃい。罰ゲームが未定でしたら、ぜひメイド服の着用を提案してくださいね。サイズから種類までいろいろと取り揃えておりますので。
Oh, I'm so glad you do.
また来週お会いしましょう。
やなこったなのですよ。また来週なのです。さ、行きましょうですわ。今日は部活メンバーだけじゃありませんものね。腕が鳴りましたよ。
I bowed slightly and made to leave the examination room, but I soon realized something. Irie was looking at me with a sad expression on his face. Just with that look, I could tell what he wanted to say. Please take care of Satoko-chan if something happens to her. I nodded at him and stepped out into the hallway with Satoko.
やれやれ、検査は慣れても疲れますわね。検査、お嫌なのですか？めんどくさいから嫌ではありますけど、これも仕事ですもの。仕方ありませんわ。
Satoko is supporting Irie's research. She gets financial support by helping him out. Or at least that's what Satoko thinks she's doing. So she doesn't know that she's sick? That's interesting. And off to the store we are. Alright. This seems like an okay place to end this episode. Not bad if I do say so myself. Not too long of an episode, but not too short. I think this will be very interesting, seeing where all this could eventually go and what information we can get. I mean, there's bound to be information to get. We started off this episode face first with information, confirming some things and settling things out. At this point, it's just answering the remaining questions that we have of the overarching mystery, and boom, there we go. So, thank you all for watching this episode. If you enjoyed, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, all that fancy jazz, and next time, I guess it's gaming time. So make sure you have your gaming faces on, and we'll be ready for this. We'll see how this goes. Take it easy, guys.